Shalom Aleichem. My name is Tony Pino, and today we are going to continue in our series concerning the objections to celebrating Hanukkah. Every time at this time of year when we're celebrating Hanukkah, there are some that will raise objections to celebrating it, and they have various reasons why. And so we are going to tackle one at a time and do some short videos here. This is number 2 objection that we're going to talk about today. Now, the Hanukkah story we know takes place in between 168 BCE and 165 BCE. So this is before the time of Yeshua. And we have Antiochus IV, who is king at that time of the Grecian army that is over the land of Israel. And he outlaws Torah. He puts to death the Jews who are found doing Torah, obeying Torah. He outlaws circumcision, so many women are put to death for circumcising their children. He burns the Torah scrolls, has those burned. There is no Shabbat, there is no feast days. He actually takes away the offering system, and he institutes the worship of Zeus. He puts a statue of Zeus in the holy place there. He offers pigs on the altar, and he makes a total abomination and defilement of the temple ground area. He creates Jerusalem as a vacation center for his soldiers, where all kinds of abominable things are done: sexual morality, debauchery, witchcraft, all kinds of things are occurring there in Jerusalem. Now, a small band of Jews get together and they create what is called the Maccabean Revolt. And this Maccabean Revolt is going to last for 3 years. It's going to first be started by a man named Mattathias of the Hasmonean family line. And then one of his sons, Yehuda, who's nicknamed Maccabee, the Hammer, takes over the army after he passes away. And so over a course of a 3-year period, the Maccabees are able to retake the temple grounds area. They are able to make new articles to put in the temple area, cleanse the area, rededicate the temple to Yahweh. That's why it's called Hanukkah. Hanukkah is the rededication of the temple. Now, after they did this, or shortly after, they decided to make this a yearly celebration, and they made it an 8-day festival, an 8-day celebration. Now, one of the reasons why they did this is just prior to taking back the temple, they had Sukkot, but they weren't able to really celebrate Sukkot correctly. They had missed Sukkot because the temple was defiled. And so now that they were able to cleanse it, rededicate it, this is where they get the 8-day celebration from. They want to make it into like a Sukkot, okay, similar to Sukkot. They're not replacing Sukkot or any of the other feast days. They are just adding a man-made tradition, and none of it is violating the Torah. And so they just want to celebrate the victory that Yahweh gave them. They were giving him all glory for giving them the victory of taking back the temple, defeating the Grecian army, and being able to glorify Yah through the offering system once more. Now, anyone who has studied Hanukkah knows that it is a foreshadow of the anti-Mashiach that is to come. Antiochus IV called himself Antiochus Epiphanes, which means God manifest. And there are many other aspects of the story of Hanukkah that show us a foreshadow of the anti-Mashiach to come in the book of Revelation. So that is also another good reason why many Messianics celebrate it as a reminder and as a foreshadow of what is to come, a Hanukkah still to come. But those who oppose celebrating Hanukkah, objection number 2 is, after the Maccabean Revolt, the Hasmonean family began to do forced circumcision on everyone in the land. As they began to take territory back from the Greeks, they would force the Gentiles to become circumcised and follow the Torah. They would kill and take revenge on those who were against them. The Jews that loved the Greek life, the Hellenized Jews that didn't want to give up the Greek life and wanted nothing to do with the Torah. And so they took it upon themselves to go out and begin to basically create havoc. Their goal was to get everyone under Torah, but they were forcing it across the land. And also, the Hasmonean lineage took over the high priest line. And so people will raise up, see, we don't need to be celebrating Hanukkah because look what the Hasmoneans did after they got the victory and after they recleansed the temple. They didn't put a correct high priest in. They took the priesthood on for themselves, and they are not from the line of Zadok. Okay, they're from the first priestly order, and they're not from the line of Zadok or the line of Phineas. Amen. Which the Torah says is where the high priests need to come from. Not only that, the Hasmoneans made themselves both high priest and king over Israel. And we all know that within the Torah and within the Tanakh, only from the line of David can a king come. It has to be from the line of David. And there's a lot more stipulations that also need to take place. But the Hasmoneans were not from the line of David. So people will look at what happened after the victory and all the things that happened afterwards and the disobedience that happened, and they will say, see, we shouldn't honor Hanukkah because then we're honoring what they did. And that is just totally false. It is actually a pretty weak argument because Hanukkah is celebrated for the victory Yahweh gave to them. Okay? And for us Messianics, we know that Yeshua, who is Yahweh, though he's distinct and separate from the Father, he gave them the victory. He wanted the temple up and running for when he came to redeem all mankind from sin. And so it is a celebration of the victory that Yeshua and the Father gave the Maccabees. Amen. By their grace. Okay. Without a victory by the Maccabees, if the Grecian army were to continue to have victory and continue to outlaw the Torah, there would be no more Jews in that area, in that land. Amen. There would be, because circumcision was outlawed. The Torah scrolls are being burnt, amen, and destroyed. And people are being put to death for obeying the Torah. And so by the choice and sovereign will of Yahweh, he wanted that temple up and running. He wanted Jews in the land, amen. And this was his choice and his way on how he wanted that to come. And so we give him the glory and the honor. The fact that the Hasmoneans did evil after the victory does not at all take away from our celebration of Hanukkah. If that was the case, then we should not celebrate Passover or any of the feasts because Yahweh gave the victory to Israel by delivering them by grace out of Mitzrayim, out of Egypt. They did no good works to deserve it, and they spent 40 years walking in disobedience. Amen. In the book of Hebrews, it says that they walked in unbelief, which is why they shall not enter Yahweh's rest. And so if we base it on how people act after the victory, then we shouldn't be celebrating Passover or anything else. But Yahweh commanded to celebrate Passover and the other festivals. Why? They reflect Yeshua. Amen. A direct reflection, a foreshadow of the work of Yeshua. And so this Hanukkah, it's not on equal grounds as the feast of Yahweh. We don't hold them on equal grounds. Okay, traditions are optional. And the traditions that we do at Hanukkah, if they don't violate the Torah, we're good. Amen. Yahweh is not against traditions. And so we do not base, amen, whether or not you celebrate a victory of Yahweh according to how the people act after the victory is done. Okay. We look to who gave the victory, and that's who we give all glory to. So objection number 2 just doesn't hold up. If we can complain all we want on what the Hasmonean dynasty did after they received the victory, they became prideful, they became arrogant, and they took it upon themselves to do evil across the land. If that's the case, if that's what's been proven, so be it. They will be judged for that. But Hanukkah, in and of itself, was a victory by Yeshua, by the Father, so that the temple could be standing when Yeshua came. So he could fulfill the Torah in many ways. Many of the commands at the temple, Yeshua was able to fulfill because it was around. Amen. And it doesn't matter on man's disobedience. It matters on Yeshua's righteousness and Yeshua's work and his sovereign will. Amen. And so objection number 2 doesn't hold up. All right. And so until we meet again, everyone, shalom.